What's up, YouTube? I'm back to share a little update, shed some more light on my story about how I predicted my own death and survived it. So I mentioned in that story that while I was in medical care, I went completely off painkillers because I got into a paranoid conspiracy. I want to shed some light on how I reached that mindset. So in the previous video, I said that I was still in hospital care when I stopped taking painkillers. That was actually incorrect of me. I remembered it better. And I'd moved from the hospital into the brain injury rehab facility when I made this decision. So I moved into the rehab facility, and the whole time I got it in my head that there's nothing wrong with me. And these doctors are just forcing me to stay in this hospital bed, telling me I've got all these horrible injuries that I need to wake up and take seriously. And stop believing that they're keeping me in prison there and that I actually need to be there. So I get into this rehab facility, and they put me. I got a nice big room with an ensuite and a bed. And the room right next to mine has this poor lady. I think she was in a car crash or something. I'm not entirely sure, but she was completely paralyzed from the neck. She couldn't walk. She couldn't lift an item. I'm not sure how far along her recovery journey she was, but I couldn't communicate with her because she could only scream in these loud grunts that sounded like she was in absolute agony, just absolute grunts and screams of anguish, but no actual words. And late at night, she would just be screaming and grunting, sort of like a kind of noise, just over and over. As I was lying awake late at night, listening to these noises coming from the patient in the room next door to mine, I started to wonder if maybe I've been transferred to this facility because I am in the exact same condition as she is, and that everything I've been experiencing up to that point, standing up, walking over to the bathroom, talking with my visitors, maybe all of that was my brain just fabricating these things happening. And I started to wonder if I was living in a dream world, imagining that I had mobility and I was able to talk, but that the actual reality was that I was just lying paralyzed in a bed, screaming and grunting like this lady in the room next door to mine. I couldn't trust anyone, because at that point, if I'm believing that everything that I'm seeing and experiencing is my brain's coping mechanism or trauma prevention, fabricating all of these events, then I knew that I couldn't simply just ask a person to tell me that I wasn't exactly like that lady in the room next door to mine, the paralyzed lady, because my brain would, if I ask that question of a person, then that leaves the opportunity for my brain to fabricate them saying, "Oh no, you're not like that," when in reality I could be just like her. And so the only logical conclusion I could come up with was, if I had to get off of all painkillers and drugs and whatever was in the pills that these doctors were giving me, that was probably contributing to it. And I knew that they would insist that I have to take these pills regardless of my harebrained perception of what might be my reality. So that's when I started lying to the doctors, and I told them I'm not in any pain. I don't want the painkillers. You can't force me to take them. And I was on a good strong dose of morphines at the time, plus I think it was a blood thinner and a few other pills. And yeah, so I just went cold turkey, completely off of that, and I just grit my teeth and lied to the doctor. Said, "No, I'm not in any pain. I'm fine. I don't need your medicine." Because I knew I had to push myself through that so that I could have mental clarity to perceive what my reality was. And as I it took a few days to get all clean and able to manage my pain through my own mind power, the mind over matter kind of thing. It took days before I could even just climb out of bed and go to the toilet. I'd just lay in bed reading a book, knowing that all I had to do was just get through it. The pain would subside once I got through this period, and my mental clarity about my reality would come back to me once I was off of these drugs. And that was probably a really smart move on my part, because without all of these opioid painkillers in my system, my balance was a lot more natural, because I had to pass all these physical tests, like balance and coordination ones, to prove that I was in a good enough condition to be allowed out of medical care and go home to my family. And I sure as hell wanted to go home, because let me tell you, this rehab facility, they had no Wi-Fi. So all I could do was lie in bed and read books. I couldn't watch my Netflix or the YouTubes. I was reading a biography about Hunter S. Thompson. I can't remember who the writer was. He was someone who worked really closely with Hunter. I remember that much. But that was a really good book, and I thank the friend who lent me that. It was a great book to be reading. So that's how I came to the conclusion that the doctors were trying to brainwash me with their medicine, was because I got put in a room next to a completely incapacitated person and somehow convinced myself that maybe I am also completely incapacitated, and I'm just imagining that I can walk and talk and move. So it was a lot of mental gymnastics. To be fair, it was a brain injury, so I couldn't exactly think straight. But I'm glad that I did that. It taught me a lot about the sheer willpower that I could access if I really put my mind to it and was determined to use this willpower to fuel me, to give me the strength. I guess it was quite a profound experience. I got out of that rehab facility really quickly, because without all those painkillers in my system, I was able to pass my tests, all my balance and coordination and literacy, and I think they even had me do some maths tests and like word recognition and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that I went through what I did, even though it's pretty loony, the mental gymnastics that I took to make my decisions. But yeah, anyway, that's a little bit of an update on what was going through my mind at that stage of the recovery. And that's enough for today. Thank you, YouTube.